The Tyre Kickers, classic car chat with Max and Matt.
Hello there and welcome to yet another edition of the podcast where we talk about buying classic cars. And guess what? I've gone and bought one.
It's brown, it's from the 1970s, and it's one of the hottest classic cars you can buy. I mean hot, as in overheat. Yes, he's gone and bought a Triumph Stag.
I'm afraid it's true, so we'll be asking what have I done, why have I done it, and will I regret it?
The Tyre Kickers.
Also on the show, I Will Survive. Which classics have outlasted the rest and dodged the rust? And here's a clue, it may not be the ones you think.
We'll also be in the mailbag to hear your views on the people in classic car clubs, how to sell your car, and also how one listener's windscreen just exploded.
And despite him buying a Snag, we'll be back knee-deep in the classifieds asking, see it, want it.
So while I watch my temperature gauge like a hawk, let's turn up the heat and get the wheels turning on episode 37 of the Tyre Kickers.
Classic car chat with a UK slant. This is the Tyre Kickers.
So yes, as you rightly predicted, I couldn't cope very long without a classic car, and I've now got a new one sitting in my garage downstairs. It had to be done. And this car, well, there's only one way to pronounce it.
Stag. I have a Stag.
Well, you finally got one, to be honest. I mean, you have been going on about these for so long. They were actually still in production when you started talking about buying one of these.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in my Achilles heel, this car. I mean, I've walked away from buying one on several occasions. I told you the story of the one I lifted the bonnet on and there was 3 different colours of paint underneath. Yeah. And I looked at the sills and I could see the gravel of the car park underneath it as well. So, yeah, I've had close encounters with Stags. I've always been kind of really disappointed with them, but I've had this thing ever since I was young and just kind of wanted to do it. So I want to scratch the itch. I don't know how long I'm going to have it, but I've looked at some. I walked away from one. We talked about it on the episode, but I found this one, and I think it's a good one.
Now, I've not seen it yet, so you're going to send me these photos on WhatsApp, and they're going to pop open now. Oh. That's not a factory colour, is it?
No, that's not a factory colour, which, I mean, look, put it this way, I didn't go looking for a brown car, but it's not that russet brown, it's not that mud brown that you get on the Stag. It's a Porsche brown, actually. It's a metallic copper brown. The previous owner wanted it repainted. He didn't like the colour brown, and there were a couple of little paint issues he wanted to sort out, so he sent it and got it redone. Now, he was sort of scratching around for a colour to do. And he pulled into a garage and saw a Porsche Macan out in front of him with this copper metallic on. He said, that'll do. I like that. So, yeah, it's in a slightly unusual colour, but it pops in the sun, doesn't it?
So if I just describe it, it's got this kind of Porsche brown. It's got some big, bright gold coach lines down the side, which look really good. It's a Mark II. It's an S. It's a 1978, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they stopped making them in, I think, late 77, didn't they? So obviously sat around the British Lakeland,
rusting quietly in the car park.
Yeah, exactly.
Beige interior, automatic. I can see from that.
The tan, I'm calling that tan vinyl interior.
Okay, yeah.
Beige.
It looks really nice, actually. It's a really nice car. I mean, it's got some great bright work. Got 2 massive exhaust pipes sticking out the back. Is that an upgraded exhaust?
I think it is slightly upgraded because it sounds a bit more throaty. I mean, all the Stags have got those kind of low-hanger exhausts that stick out and burn your leg as you walk past, but it's definitely a bit more sort of throaty sounding than the other Stags that I saw. It just looked really good, and we talked about it on the last episode about walking up and seeing a car, and you get in that first few seconds, you get that 6th sense of whether a car is good, and it just sat well on the drive. It looks really good. It's had all the rust sorted out. It's got an MOT with no advisories. It's got the original Triumph engine, which, interestingly, looking this time around at Stags, adds a bit of value. People want the Triumph engine.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't want the Rover anymore.
Because you can sort these engines out. All the problems are solvable. Right.
Yes, exactly that. So, 10 years ago when I was looking, people wanted the Rover engine. So the Triumph engine now has become the thing that people want. It's got an uprated water pump and a radiator. The engine's had some rebuild work on it. It had this bare metal respray in this brown. Polybushed suspension. The previous owner went through it and improved the suspension and polybushed that, which really suits the car. I mean, some cars it doesn't suit polybushing. It's a bit too tight, but on a wallowy Stag, it does tighten it up nicely, and it just sits really nicely. And on the test drive, the previous owner just floored it, absolutely floored it. And I've not been on a test drive like it because he didn't hold back. He drove first, and he just said, "Okay, here we go. So he threw the car around and he wasn't scared of doing that. So that gave me a bit of confidence when I came to drive it. And when I sat behind the wheel, I thought, I've not been in a Stag like this. It feels good. It feels tight. The engine feels good. And the colour just made it feel a little bit more classy. I mean, some of the Stags, I do like the primary colours, the blues and the yellows and the reds. But this darker colour just almost gave it more of sort of an SL feel.
Yeah, I think it looks really nice. And also, I'm just checking out some of the details. So they've paid attention to the details because they've put the original chrome wipers on. Because you see so many times there's chrome wiper arms, but modern wipers on. But they've actually put the chrome wipers on. It's got the Mark II sort of 5-spoke alloy wheels, which are really nice. And actually, everything looks really standard, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain places that they rust in. The
Everywhere.
outriggers. Well, yeah, everywhere. Yeah, the outriggers underneath, under the boots, obviously the sills and the wheel arches. But all of those are nice. You can run your hand along all the wheel arches. They've all been done. They all feel nice. The sills are really good. All the areas. Even when you lift the hood up as well, the hood bin is a favourite place for rock because obviously the rain gets in and just sits there. But that's super super clean as well. So yeah, for the moment, it's got no rust on it. But I mean, I'm going to garage it, so hopefully I'll keep it out of the rain. So it's going to be good. But already driving it, fantastic. I had to drive it back from Kent, which was like an hour and a bit on the M25, and it just coped absolutely admirably. I will say it's the first. That first drive, that first 24 hours is a little bit tense getting a new car, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Because is this the car I thought it was? What's hidden? And also with the Stag, you're watching two things, aren't you? The speedo and the temperature.
Just the temperature, I think.
Just the temperature, yeah, pretty much. I wasn't watching the speedo too much. But yeah, the temperature didn't budge. And, within sort of 10 minutes or so, I was foot down, lane 2, 3, overtaking stuff. And then, it started getting dark. Obviously, the Stag's got 2 candles at the front of it, which illuminate the road. So they're pretty useless.
It's Lucas Electrics, isn't it? So 2 candles which probably aren't working.
What was the nickname for Lucas? The Prince of Darkness. Wasn't it? Yeah, no, so everything works. It's just, as I say, it's passed an MOT recently with no advisories. So I knew that all the kind of the electrics work, well, for now. But I've driven it a fair bit of motorway. It's been out to a couple of car shows. I've had it under a week, but I've used it a fair bit, and it's running well. I have put it in for a service today, just sort of peace of mind service. You never know the full story of what's going on. And this last service, I didn't get any paperwork for. So I've put it in with a specialist to go through it in service, just for a little bit of peace of mind. I think with the Stag, one thing you've got to be aware of, and you'll be impressed, actually. I did a little bit of research. I bought a book. Yeah, I bought a book. £10.99 it was.
Did you read it?
Yeah, from 1991.
But not read it.
I've got it here, actually. There's a couple of bits. First bit, actually, is it says, it addresses the elephant in the room. Paragraph 3, it's talking about overheating.
Is that the introduction paragraph?
There's
Do not buy this car, it overheats.
There's some other nuggets as well. They forgot to tell owners not to play with the newfangled electric windows when the car wasn't running, which apparently caused quite a few breakdowns as people went,
right,
look,
okay.
it goes down and it goes up and it goes down and it goes up. It was pretty good at the time for flattening the battery. So far, it's been really good. It's really nice to drive. The engine just sounds great.
Well, it is, it really does. It's probably the best sounding V8 out there, isn't it? I mean, it was always criticised at the start for being under-engineered, which is a very British Leyland thing to do, isn't it? But by now, all those problems are going to be solved, aren't they? There's plenty of solutions for the heating problem. You can have a bigger header tank, a better water pump. I mean, there's plenty of other solutions for the timing chains. I mean, it's maintenance, basically, isn't it? You've just got to look after them.
Yeah, because obviously you look at some, I mean, a lot of them have this extra expansion tank at sort of waist level, because the original design, it's like below the engine, which is a really stupid place to put it. And I said to him, well, some do, some don't. He said, well, it's a personal preference thing, but some of the cars are okay, some aren't. It's just a lot of people put it there for the insurance. But yeah, there's a few things you have to do. I mean, you have to have antifreeze running it all year round, because otherwise it corrodes inside. So part of the service we're doing today has got the wrong antifreeze in it, so we're going to replace it with the right antifreeze. But all as you say, over the years, people have sort of worked out how to do it. The problem was when it first came out, is that it was born into a bad family circumstance, wasn't it? British Leyland was a bit of a mess. You had industrial action going on. There was infighting at British Leyland. And then it came out into the wider world, kind of half-baked. They didn't tell the dealers really about the maintenance sort of issues. I mean, the timing chain is another problem with it you need to keep an eye on. There were certain things they didn't tell them how to do, so they just started having those problems, and then they started queuing up in the dealership service bay from Monday mornings. And America got word, and it just tanked to America, didn't it? I mean, that car was supposed to do big things in the States.
Well, particularly in America, it's sitting on a freeway in California with the air conditioning running, cooking away, and so those engines cooked so much quicker. They hadn't really road tested them in America in those bigger temperatures with aircon running, because it's a strange car. Because I think they released the design in something like 1964, and they started making it in 1966, but it didn't actually get produced till the very early 70s, didn't it?
Yeah.
1970. So it was in this kind of gestation period for such a long time. And you would have thought that actually they would have solved problems. But I think during that period, they added things and subtracted things from the design. And actually, that kind of reliability got lost.
It did. I mean, I'm getting used to certain bits on it. I mean, there's a lot on the car that's good. I'm getting used to the British Leyland build quality inside, which is like sort of balsa wood and lolly sticks, isn't it? I mean, I've learned already you have to be very fragile with the stalks, because I think the last owner, he went to turn right and the indicator stalk came off in his hand. So I mean, they seem to be made out of coffee stirrers, the sort of switch gear in there.
Well, I think they came from the Marina, didn't they? Or actually they were used in the Marina. They were just the generic BL switch gear. Some of that comes from, I'm just having a look at it, some of that is from the Sherpa van as well.
How glamorous. So there's a bits of it I'm just kind of acclimatizing to, but it's very 70, Max. It smells of the 70s. It's vinyl.
Well, Old Spice and Brute.
And there's the whiff of Old Spice there lingering. A bit of tobacco, a bit of a cigar smoke lingering. No, it's fun so far. I mean, it's...
They're great cars, and they've now all been sorted, particularly because you've got a later model, a 78. Lots of the problems were sorted by a 78 anyway, because it's one of the last models, is the Mark II. And then you've had, nearly 50 years of development since then.
Yeah, so far so good. I say that the first 24 hours is a bit nerve-wracking. You're trying to work out what is going to go wrong, but thankfully nothing did. I did think actually that when you buy a new classic car, you are inheriting somebody's to-do list slightly, aren't you? I meant to do that. And there's certain things, like, for example, the driver's door lock's a bit dicky, it sort of sometimes locks itself. So I'm having that sorted out as well. All that sort of stuff you've got to take into consideration. I think for me, the ultimate thing is the car and the condition and how it drove. There's bits of it that I can improve, like the engine bay's a bit scruffy. I can kind of improve that. It's all fine, but
have you been looking at upgrades though? That's the next thing, isn't it?
Bit of bling, yeah. You can bling you up. It's not the prettiest engine bay, actually. I've got to say. I mean, it's a nice lump in it, but it's not the prettiest of engine bays. When you pop the bonnet up in a Stag, it's a bit, but they didn't design it to look cool. But you can bling it up if you want.
But I mean, the Stag upgrades are mainly sort the cooling, which sounds like it's been done. Put a aftermarket exhaust on it to make it sound sexier, and maybe upgrade the gearbox, because the manuals you can put in a kind of upgraded MX-5 gearbox, and I think you've got the Borg Warner 3-speed on that, have you?
Yeah, which is very slushy, but it's fine. Do you know what? It runs. If you can do a lot of like long distance touring, I think you'd want to update it. There's a Tate gearbox, I think, which is ZF, as you say. It's like a 4-speed, and it's much better. But honestly, I'm quite enjoying the automatic. We're coming out of an agricultural sort of 60s car, where every journey was a bit of a workout, a pleasurable workout most of the time, granted, but it was still much more of a agricultural drive. Because coming to this with power steering and an automatic and a V8, and just, it's quite effortless. I drove it in the rush hour this morning, and it was no bother at all. Whereas in my older car, you would sort of be, it's just a bit more of a, shunting around and no power steering, that sort of stuff. So I'm enjoying those aspects of it. I'm so glad to have a car again, because I had a bit of time, obviously like 4 or 5 weeks where I've had no car. I've had no classic car, and I was sort of pacing the house. My wife said, God, you need a car, don't you? You really are sort of at a loss, aren't you, that one, because you haven't got anything to Google. You're not racking your brain all the time going, how do I fix that?
And you're hanging around the house, which is where you're not welcome.
Exactly that. So yeah, get a car, get out of the house. But no, I have been pacing up and down. It's definitely a bit of an addiction.
But this is the thing. The great thing about classic cars is you've always got something to think about. And I'm not really into football, but I'm guessing this is what football does for some people, is that you've just got something to constantly think about. And so that's what, you and I are always swapping texts and photos about classic cars. And particularly once you've got one, you can just look at upgrades. You can think about where to drive it. You can think about when to clean it. It just fills your brain, which for a man might sometimes otherwise be empty.
You don't have it so much now with your SL, but with your old Porsche, you're constantly trying to sort of crack a puzzle, aren't you, with things?
Or make it work, yeah.
Yeah.
How can I afford this bill from this dealer to try and get this going again?
So look, I had a lot of time where I was just kicking about, and I just had to watch lots of videos on Stags, basically is what I did. I think I probably watched every single video on YouTube about Stags, including this one. I want to play you this. It was from a Channel 4 show called For the Love of Cars. Do you remember that being on?
Oh, yeah. The bloke from Life on Mars, yeah.
That's it. Philip Glenister and Anstead, who used to be on Wheeler Dealers. And it's fair to say that one of them is a fan of the Stag. One of them isn't.
The Stag represents 70s porn. I mean, that's not being about the bush. Pardon the expression.
There's nothing quite like it when you watch that bonnet just lift up as you put your foot down.
I just love driving it.
We had lots of fun.
The Stag is simply an awesome car.
Just the name, Triumph Stag. I remember it as being quite a tasty little motor.
I'll be honest, the Stag's rubbish. I don't think I would ever, given the opportunity, drive, even be a passenger in a Stag. I just don't think it's a great car.
All right, hater. I mean, it's though a bit of a Marmite car, though, isn't it, fair to say?
I don't know. You see, I think it's more an age thing because Philip Glenister, I'm guessing, is around our kind of age. You know, he probably grew up in the 1970s, and in the 70s, the Stag was a really stylish, flash car, wasn't it? It was, it was the English or British SL.
Well, it was
an
luxury,
exciting
wasn't it?
time. It was a
It was
really
luxury.
fun. I remember it as a kid. It was a great car. If somebody was driving around in a Stag, they'd made it and they fancied themselves a bit, and they probably had 2 or 3 shirt buttons open as you did in the 70s, showing off a bit of chest hair because it was that kind of car. It was a show-off car because it was a good-looking car. It sounded great. Wasn't particularly fast, but then, you were up against Morris Minors, so it didn't need to be. So I think the Stag is a car of its time. It's a great 70s car. I think Anstead is a bit younger than us, probably, like everybody, and he just doesn't quite get it.
Yes, I think that's probably a thing. And also, you've got to put it into context. I mean, you look at what's in the Stag. I mean, electric windows and power steering. Let's just take those two. They weren't on normal cars.
They are cool.
Well, in the 70s, what would that have been on? That'd have been on a Jaguar or a Rolls Royce, maybe.
And some Fords, I think some Gears had electric windows up front, but they're not many.
Not in the early 70s, I would think.
In the early SLs, they had wind-up windows.
Yeah, exactly that. So all that sort of stuff was quite wow, wasn't it? And you should say the Stag was a wow car. In that it's
almost a nightclub owner's car.
So I mean, obviously, I've had this thing about Stags since being a young kid, and as I say, like I've been on and off them. But one of the reasons, Max, I've kept pining for one, there's this YouTube channel, I don't know if you've seen it, it's called Ari the Stag, and the guy Tony on there, he's just so enthusiastic about Stags, it's actually quite infectious. So I've sort of been watching that over the last couple of years, and that sort of kept my passion going. He's also wanted one since he was a kid, and now on the channel, you just kind of get to watch him enjoying it, which is really good.
This car is just to die for. It looks stunning. Nothing like it on the road these days at all. All that chrome and everything else. Just amazing. Really is just amazing. The sound of a verbal, as we said, is enormous. The smell, the taste, I suppose, the taste of the 70s.
Yeah, TR Tony there, he calls himself, and his red 1978 Stag. And yeah, you can taste the 70s when you're in it. So what I did is I sent him over some photos of the one I've just got, just to see what he thought and say thanks for kind of like, keeping my passion going on it. And a couple of days ago, he phoned and he left me this message, Max.
Oh, hi, Matt. It's TR Tony here from Ari the Stag. Just ringing back. Sorry I missed you. I'm just a voicemail to say, wow, what a car you've got there. Really, really interesting. Copper, metallic, brown, awesome colour. Love the metal flake look. The chrome looks great. I can't see any rust on it at all. The doors are to die for. There's absolutely no rust in there whatsoever. Looks pristine, almost like it's run off the production line fairly recently. And being an S-registered car, it's obviously a late one. So you've got a real good car there. Love to come and film it as and when we get the chance, but well done on your acquisition, and we'll see you online on Ari the Stag soon if we don't speak to you before. Ari the Stag.
Oh, it sounds like you're going to be on the telly.
Yeah, might be. I might be on YouTube. Yeah, no, he's such an enthusiastic guy. It's a great channel, even if you're not into Stags. Well, watch it. Go find it on YouTube. You might get into Stags. They've also got a Facebook group as well, so look that up. It's called Ari the Stag, ARRY. The Stag.
So you're excited about this then, because obviously you don't normally do some research, which on a Stag is probably a good thing, because if you start researching the Triumph Snag, you'd probably scare yourself off. So it's better probably not to look about this one too deeply before you buy it.
Well, that's true, although you do need to know a few sort of things. As I say, the rust points, the antifreeze thing, the servicing, that sort of stuff. Have they had modifications? I say I bought this book and I did read it before I went and looked at that second one. So far, so good. I've only had it, as I say, under a week. But as the weather kicks in for the rest of the summer, I'll be using it more. So if you do see me out and about in my brown Stag, give me a wave. Maybe on a low loader. Hopefully not, though.
Shout to him, it's not factory colour. That should be russet brown.
It's not original.
And just one quick thing. Who owned Triumph? Just remind me.
British Leyland.
British Leyland. So I like British Leyland, and I have liked British Leyland for about 40 years. You have spent 30 years taking the mick out of me for liking British Leyland. But just remind me again, which one of us drives a British Leyland car now?
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not becoming a British Leyland fanboy. It was the exception that proved the rule, because the rest were absolute junk. So hopefully this one's going to... I've bought a Stag despite it being from British Leyland. It's an Italian-designed thing that was made by Triumph that just happened to be part of British Leyland.
Oh, the Italian British Leyland. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Now, we joke about Stags, but here's the thing. They are a survivor. In fact, one of the best classic survivors in the UK. 42% of them are still on the road. That's nearly 8,500 of the British Leyland beauties.
Yeah, all right. So that got us thinking, what other cars went against the odds and made it through, dodging fashion, rust, and neglect?
Now, I like a good top 10 list, so Matt's made one. Well, actually, he asked AI to do his homework, and this is what he came up with.
Yeah, it took all of about 5 minutes with ChatGPT, but let's see what it comes up with, and let's stay with the sideburns, flares, and medallions of the 70s and see what's on that 70s survival list. Now, Max, you've not seen these lists, so I thought we'd have a bit of fun with you, see if you can guess. Any guesses about what AI discovered are the other 9 on that 70s list?
Well, cars that have survived from the 1970s. I mean, I'd always say, and this would be the same for the 50s, 60s, and 70s, series Land Rovers, because they do have a great survival rate. So series Land Rovers, maybe?
Nope, not on this list.
I would also think, I mean, cars still around from the 1970s, MGBs, both the chrome bumper and the rubber bumper, they're great survivors, aren't they? There's loads of those around.
Number 3 on the list.
There we are. Let's have a think. I mean, loads of Fords, because people are really into Fords. So Cortinas, Capris, I mean, especially Escorts, the amount of money being paid for Escorts.
Number 8 on the list.
Oh,
for
great.
Cortinas,
Okay.
Yeah. I'll give you a clue. Number 2, think of a very underpowered French car.
Oh, 2CV.
Yeah, exactly that. In fact, open this list up and you can see it. I mean, I will say this is ChatGPT, and I did query it a couple of times, and it put different cars on the list every time I queried it. So we'll take it with a slight pinch of salt. There's an interesting statistic we'll get onto when we talk about one of the other decades about cars that are kind of survivors because they've been re-imported, but we'll get into that. So on this list, number 1 on the list is a Triumph Stag. 46.5% of Stags survived, according to this. Citroen 2CV is second. There's 3,200 in the UK. That was a production survivors, 3,000. But 95% of them were late builds.
Yeah, but look at the next one. Number 3 in the 1970s survivors, the MGB, with 41,000 still on the roads. I mean, that's because of great part supply. And just, they're great cars, aren't they? So people still want them.
Yeah, and talking of cars that people still want, number 4, Morris Minor, Max.
God.
Morris Minor.
God knows why people are driving around in these. It was really bad originally, so why do you still have to torture yourself by using that?
Interestingly, if you look at the survival rate, though, it's pretty low because there's only 2 or 3% of the 500,000.
Not low enough, sadly.
And the late production ones are the ones that survive. But there's a bit of another Triumph on the list as well, number 5.
Dolly Sprint, number 5, with 0.3% of those surviving. And then number 6, I'm not quite sure about this, but Rover SD1. I'm not sure many of those survive. They did rust for fun.
Yeah, this is why the ChatGPT is not maybe the most reliable, because it's not. It says there's a few hundred left. So why is it on our top 10? I'm not quite sure. Another Triumph is put on there is a TR7 TR8, and it says that 50 are registered. I think this has gone wrong. I think this is not a great list from ChatGPT.
I'd be surprised. I mean, TR8s are so rare. I don't know. Last time I saw a TR8 for sale, it was a genuine TR8.
I think we'll get you on the list next time, because I don't think that's a very good list. See if we can do any better with the 60s. Now, I've seen this list again, so let's see if you can have a guess. Try and guess the number 1 survivor. I'll give you a clue, and you should get it from this. George Best had one, and Enzo Ferrari thought it was Bellissimo.
Okay, well, it's got to be the E-Type, isn't it? I mean, there's huge amounts of E-Type surviving because they are pretty cars, and people wanted to be seen in them, and people wanted to save them. So I suppose that's the obvious one, isn't it? You probably naturally think, if you're looking for survivor cars, lots of cars that were mass produced, but actually it's the stuff that people lust after that's going to be saved.
Have a guess what's number 2. I think you'll get it.
From the 1960s.
Yeah, light and fast.
I was going to say Morris Minor, but that's already gone. So
light and fast.
I mean,
Very
Triumph
light
seem to be
sports
quite
car.
bad. Triumph Spitfire?
No, lighter than that.
Lighter than a Spitfire. Lotus Elan.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually,
that's
open up the list. So you're right. Jaguar E-Type is at the top with a survival rate of 40 to 60%. Apparently about just a short of 6,000 on the DVLA active list at the moment. Lotus Elan's in at second, and then we've got some others.
But remember, the Elan is fiberglass, so actually that's probably why it survived, because it didn't rust.
Well, this is true. MGC GT makes an appearance on that list.
Yep.
And at number 4, this is the interesting one. I think this is an interesting phenomenon. It flagged this up. Triumph TR4A. Now, in terms of UK production, most of these were exports, so there wasn't that many UK production. So you're talking about 1,000, 1,500 made in the UK, but 1,200 are on UK roads. Now, the reason for this is a lot of cars got brought back into the country.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
The desire for them went up. So although that's a survivor, it's not necessarily because it's not actually survived from the UK. But hey, to see TR4A still on the road is great. So it doesn't really matter how people have done it. And that's the nice thing about classic cars. If there's a want and a desire for them, people will go to the effort to get them done. But it's one of those cars that has been, the desirability here has driven those re-imports in. But
I mean, that's exactly what happened to the E-Type, isn't it? As soon as E-Type prices started going up in this country, it sucked in a load of left-hand drive ones from the States that got converted and restored. So it kind of, those cars coming in from the States, when they used to be cheap, when it was cheap to do that, that's probably why there's so many still around. Also on this list again, Morris Minor, Austin Healey Sprite. Yeah, okay, I can see why those are around. Hillman Imp, I'd be surprised. I haven't seen many Hillman Imps around. People used to take the engines out of Imps and use them for hill climbing and stuff, so the Imps were chucked away. Austin Morris 1100, the BMC ADO 16. Yeah, you don't see many of those. Oh, look, number 9, Sunbeam Alpine, Series 3 to 5.
Well, yeah, nobody wanted those like 10, 20 years ago, but now the desire has sort of increased on those. So a lot of those have been re-imported, as have the Tigers, actually. A lot of those came back in from the States. And on the bottom of the list are 4 Cortina Mark II. I'm not sure this is, again, the best survival list. ChatGPT, not sure you've quite got it right. We've got one more to go, though. Let's go into the 80s. Now, you and I, that's, good. We have good memories of the 80s.
We're home.
We are, aren't we? But let's look at what made it out of the 80s. I mean, thankfully, perms and shell suits are still in the 80s and didn't make it out
for yourself.
of it.
You haven't seen what I'm wearing. I can't do a perm because I haven't got enough hair left, but I can certainly do a shell suit.
More of a blue rinse, isn't it? I put into ChatGPT because there's obviously a lot of stuff like Cavaliers, Escorts, Sierras, and all the stuff. I said, like, discount all of that stuff. And interestingly enough, a lot of those cars got absolutely canned, and there's like 1% left of Cavaliers or something like that were made. So let's go more niche in sports. And what do you reckon's at number 1 in the 80s? Now, these cars have 3,200 survivors, a 60 to 65% survival rate.
From the 80s, I mean, I would have said from the 1980s, G-body Porsche 911s, because that's for me, the ultimate 80s car. And there's huge numbers of those around because people love them so much. So 911?
I think you might be right. Open up the list.
Hang on, just wait for a sec.
We got chock-a-block there.
Dong has hit the microphone. Yeah, there we are. 911 SC. So, yeah, I mean, because they were so popular in the 80s, there were loads of them around. They've never really fallen out of favour, to be honest. I don't remember a period that 80s 911s were ever unpopular. They were a bit cheaper, but everybody liked them. So they've always been popular.
Now, this list, by the time we got to the 80s, ChatGPT kind of finally got the idea of what I was trying to do, and it's actually listed stuff on survival percentages. So next up on the list is the Triumph TR8. Now, you say, well, there's not many TR8s around. Well, only 150 were UK built. There's 50 survivors, so that gives it a 33% rate. Now, that's actually become quite a cult car, isn't it?
Now, finally, I've seen the algorithm here because it's talking about the percentage of survivors. So if you didn't make that many in the first place, it helps you out. So, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, TR8's great car, again, underdeveloped and didn't really get the chance to shine when they were sold.
There's some more interesting stuff. Another 911 on the list at number 3. Lotus Carlton.
Oh, yeah.
Number 4.
Wow.
950 built, 200 survive.
I mean, they're worth a fortune now. I saw a Lotus Carlton the other day up for an absolute huge amount of money, but that's because they didn't make many, and then it got that reputation for being a great getaway car for bank robbers, didn't it?
Yeah, I can't get excited about those though. TVRs, number 5, 1,000 built to the 280i. There's a few hundred survivors, so it's a 20 to 30% rate. A Lotus, another Lotus on there.
Yeah, Lotus Esprit, again, fiberglass mostly, and nice looking cars, so people wanted to save them. Then at number 7, Porsche 944. Again, loads of those made and actually pretty tough. There's loads of 944s out there with high mileages. So I'm not surprised those have saved. And look, in at number 8, Mercedes-Benz SLR 107.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this, because obviously, thousands were made. There are loads surviving, but obviously that skews the figures to a 5% survival rate, which is, in a real world way, is not very fair, because the SLs are still a great surviving classic car. You still see loads of them about, and there's still loads of choice to buy. They did rot from the inside out, though, didn't they?
Yeah, loads of those have rusted away, particularly the early ones, the pre-86 ones. So I'm guessing that's why the 80s survivors are a bit low. Number 9, the E30 Cabriolet Coupe, the BMW. I mean, again,
one of your favourites.
Cracking car and still really popular now. In fact, it's gaining in popularity, so I can see why they've survived. And then number 10 of the 80s survivors, more 80s possibly than the 911 G-body, the Peugeot 205 GTI.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was technically a hot hatch and more volume driven, but it had that sporting appeal, and it was the car of its class, wasn't it? In terms of that handling, that light hot hatch handling, and it kind of triggered. Was that the one that triggered the hot hatch thing, the 205, or was it the Renault 5?
Golf GTI was in first, but then the Peugeot 205 came in pretty quickly, and also I kind of think it beat the Golf GTI. It certainly handled a bit more nimbly, and once they brought the 1.9 205 GTI in, I think it was faster than the stock Golf GTI, which is why they got locked in that kind of horsepower race. But it's interesting what survives, because if you liked it and you lusted after it in period, it tends to have survived because you'll lust after it and like it now. So it's those cars that are pretty and exciting, which people still want to save. Whereas the run-of-the-mill stuff, including Morris Minors, sadly, the run-of-the-mill stuff people just aren't that bothered about and happy to see off to the scrappy.
Yeah, somebody told me, actually, in terms of getting cars for TV productions now, 90s cars are one of the most difficult to get, because people, a lot of them were mass production stuff and they weren't really cared for. I mean, people didn't really care about Cavaliers or Orions or stuff like that. But when they're trying to make all these police dramas now, and they want the period cars from the late 80s, early 90s, they're really, really difficult to find. So if you've got a Cavalier, never thought I'd say this, hang on to it.
But also, the problem with that is lots of those people who get police cars for period dramas don't really know their cars, do they? Because you look at them and think, well, that's the wrong one for the year.
She must be fun to watch the telly with.
Oh, I love that. I'm always picking holes, and that's the wrong model Cavalier. Time to get your thoughts on our thoughts and what we've been talking about in previous shows. Now, you'll remember last episode, we ruminated about the best ways to get the most dosh when you come to sell your classic. And we talked about taking great photos, maybe somewhere that looks a bit more showbiz than your front drive.
Well, Benjamin Maltby on Facebook picked up on this, but he's got a different view, Max. He says, I'm always slightly suspicious when cars are photographed in some sort of random location, which clearly isn't the owner's driveway. Provenance, he says, is as important as condition, and seeing the seller's house paints a clearer picture of the current ownership. Yeah, what do you think of that, Max?
I kind of get it, because if you see another car next to it up on bricks rotting away under a tarpaulin, you kind of think, maybe I'll give that one owner, low mileage, pristine car a miss, because it's going to be dodgy. But I think your point about making photos have got to stand out, haven't they?
Yeah.
And I think driveway photographs are just a bit naff.
Well, I just think they don't give you that sense of imagination. Oh, I could be behind that car. When you see the classic car, you sort of imagine yourself in it. And if you've got somebody's wheelie bins next to it, it kind of shatters that dream pretty quickly. And I want to see a little bit more effort gone into that. I mean, one of the things I do actually, and I have done this with cars. I take a sneaky look at Street View once I've got the address. And I take in what the house is like. And then when you get there, it's always just worth looking at the sort of condition of the house, really.
You are such a snob.
Well, no, it doesn't. It gives an idea. If somebody looks after their house, or if you go through the front door and the place is a tip, you think, okay, maybe you treat your car in the same way. And I think you then start looking at the car and you notice the jobs that need doing. You think, well, you've not loved this car, or you have. But I think it's quite a good early thing. But I want to see some decent photos. For me, I don't want to see it next to the wheelie bins.
How much time do you spend on your classic car, and how much time do you spend behind net curtains twitching them?
Well, now I've got a car, I don't need to do that anymore. But yeah, the last few weeks I have been behind my net curtains twitching them.
Staying on the same subject, Kevin Bryant told us how he used old Porsche ads to help sell his Porsche 930. He says if you didn't know you wanted the Widowmaker before seeing the ads, you did after. My favourite period ad was the one with the headline, "It gets a little louder after 5,000 RPM, so you can't hear the passenger scream." I do remember that ad, actually. It was really good.
There were some good ads, actually. You sent us quite a few ads. Maybe we should do a feature on it about old car ads, because they've sort of lost their... I don't know. They're a bit boring car ads now.
Actually,
aren't they?
that's a very good point. Can you remember a single car advert of a modern car? I don't think I
No.
can.
No, they're all gone very corporate, whereas they were a bit more clever, weren't they? I mean, looking at the old Stag ads, they obviously played on the sort of Playboy image and stuff, but the ones he sent to the Porsches had just witty sort of Mad Men style headlines on them. So maybe we'll do a feature on that. Maybe
Well, do you
some more
remember
car
the
ads.
most famous kind of Mad Men adverts were for the VW Beetle? They had some really good kind of 60s comedy adverts for VW
Yeah.
Beetles.
The ones I liked as well were the 2CV. Do you remember there was a quite famous ad for the 2CV where they had 4 cars lined up in profile? And the top one was a 2CV. It said faster than a Ferrari. And then in small print, when a Ferrari's going at 55 miles an hour. And then it said more roomy than a blah, blah, blah. I'll dig it out, actually. We'll do something on a future show, actually, because they were good, those ads. So, yeah, he used that to create some interest. So, yeah, good thought on that, Kevin. And lots of you chipped in on the subject of classic car clubs. That was something we talked about in the last episode. And whether they're a force for good or just a collection of nerds. Well, DTR Motor Curios on Instagram says it should be the former, but can all too often degrade into being the latter.
Simon Green Motoring on Instagram thinks it depends on the club. He says the good ones are inclusive and welcoming and a great source of information and advice from other owners who've been there and done that.
KCD MGBGT thinks the atmosphere of a classic car club is a reflection of the leadership and committee of the club. She says, my local MG club was really welcoming when I joined it. There were no airs and graces. All cars were welcome, regardless of condition. She said, we talk about cars, we talk about whatever we want. We're just friendly Yorkshire people.
OMG Motors says car clubs are the only place I can talk about new car purchases. Otherwise, I spend the rest of the time at home trying to convince my wife that a full stainless steel exhaust system was just a £5 and that I won a new rust bucket on the drive in a raffle. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it was just a £5.
That's right. Custom Skills thinks car clubs also serve a bit of a purpose, actually, helping to fight the corner for classic cars. He says, with the threat of various ideologies looking to restrict and interfere with personal transport and ownership, we need to support the industry that supports the hobby.
Boy Gould 2020 says, I had to be part of a club as a condition of my classic insurance. I was amazed to find out that even Facebook groups are counted as a club.
But C5 Depot isn't a fan of these Facebook car clubs. He says it's just the same question every day because nobody can be bothered to search, or they just expect others to do the work for them.
And this is Alan74 gets the final word on this. He says, the answer, as always, is down to the people. If the organisers are kind, welcoming and nice, the membership will hopefully be the same.
Yeah, so that got a lot of debate on our Instagram feed. And while we're talking about Instagram, did you see that drama, Max, that happened to one of our listeners? You remember Gentile's Garage, who has that rather nice orange 70s BMW 5 Series we talked about before. Well, he was out for a drive, something hit the windscreen, and look at this photo, it just exploded.
Yeah, that looks pretty bad, actually, doesn't it? I wonder what hit the car with that kind of force, because it really just smashed that windscreen to smithereens, didn't it?
Yeah, he goes on to explain that something just hit the windscreen and exploded. He was covered in glass. He had some cuts and bruises and things, but he's fine. It was a bit of a shocker, though, because if you look at the picture, it's on his Instagram feed, and the whole windscreen's gone, isn't it?
It's just period safety just wasn't as good as it is now. Those cars don't look after you quite as good as your modern car.
Yeah, but they're but for the grace of God and all that. Well, thank you for all your comments and stuff. There's obviously lots of you got involved in what we talked about. We love your comments. It does give us some real feedback on what you're thinking, and it helps us to understand what you're interested in as well. So thank you for getting involved. You can get involved on our Instagram page, our Facebook page, or you can email us. But if you want to know how to get in touch, here's how.
Want to contact the show? Send your ideas, comments and corrections to the Tyre Kickers UK at gmail.com. Now it's time for See It, Want It.
So before we head for the hills, let's kick some tyres and tell you about some cars we've been seeing and wanting this week. Now, first of all, you've sent me this one, Matt. It's a 1980 Mercedes SLC. So it's the C107 450 SLC. It's the V8.
Yeah, while I was looking at Stags and looking at other things, I was juggling a few other things around, and one was an SLC, and I found this one. It's a 1980, as you say, SLC 450, so the coupe of the R107 SL, 4.5 litre V8, 67,000 miles in brown. I don't know if I'm going through a sort of brown period at the moment, with cream velour interior. It looks like a chocolate bar. It's really, really nice, and I recognise this car from social media, and the owner is quite kind of visible on social media, so I think it's quite a good car. And if it's the guy I think it is, then I think he's quite fussy about his car, so it should be a good one. It's got an asking price of 16,000, which I think for an SLC is pretty good. I think it might be. It depends on condition, doesn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's the V8. It's got the great velour interior, and it's got a factory sunroof, which is pretty rare for these Mercs, to be honest. Not many had those. I mean, the SLC. It's a bit of a Marmite car, and in the right colour for Marmite, because it doesn't look quite as good as the convertibles. I don't think it's a bit elongated, but the interior is great. Lovely car.
Yeah, I mean, I did think, is it going to be one of those cars where you drive it and think, I wish I'd got the convertible? But if you're a tall chap like myself, then this is a good choice because you can get the seats back in these further than you can in the convertibles. The convertibles have got the tonneau cover, which kind of stops the seat going back. If you've driven an SL, you know what I mean. Whereas this one, it hasn't got, so you can put it's actually stretched a bit. This has got the pillarless windows as well, so you can have that sort of pillarless drive. I just think it looks really period 70s. I think, interiors actually of Mercedes of this era are quite Marmite as well. They can be either really good or really bad. And I think this velour just works, really. It fits the car. And I think, as I say, knowing that the owner is quite a fastidious owner, so I think it's definitely worth a look. It's got sunroof as well. So drop those windows, whack sunroof open. I think you've got a bit of summer fun there for 16 grand.
This episode, is like a Sesame Street episode. It's brought to you by the colour brown and the decade 1970s.
It is. Well, stay in the 70s. You've seen something. You punted this my way as said, look, if you can't find a car, go for this.
I think this would be great. I mean, it's not convertible, but it is such a good car. So this is a 1977 Alfa Romeo Alfetta 2-litre GTV. Now, just to explain it, I always like to reference Bond cars. So if you go to Octopussy and Roger Moore, when he was driving towards the circus in Germany to defuse the bomb, he grabbed somebody's Alfa Romeo GTV. Although that was a 1980s one, this is a 1970s one. So you still get the original chrome mirrors and you still get the chrome bumpers. And these GTVs, I mean, there's not many of them around because they rusted so badly, but they're such pretty looking cars. This kind of 1970s design is just fantastic. And this one is lovely. I mean, it's £15,000, quite high for an Alfa Romeo, but there's not many around. You get the beautiful 2-litre engine. You get that dashboard straight from the 70s with the rev counter right in front of you. And it handles. I mean, these cars handle and they can be upgraded to just absolutely drive beautifully. In fact, in the 1990s, there was a specialist who worked on these underneath the Westway in London, the A40, and he took me for a test drive. And I remember the A40, I think at that time was 40 or 50 miles an hour speed limit. He came off the slip road at 120 and it was still accelerating. It just sounded gorgeous. And my God, that car shifted. So these GTVs, they're a great car out of the factory. They can be made so much better. You don't see many for sale. Actually, I only found 2 or 3 when I was looking around for this one. But what a good looking car a GTV is.
Yeah, we talk about survivors. As you say, most of these didn't survive because they were made out of Russian steel, which is slightly thicker than tin foil, isn't it? So a lot of them just rotted away. But there's something about the 70s Alphas, aren't there? They do just look cool. I remember the Alphasud, the first generation of that, had a sort of cool look. It was a bit dumpy looking, but the chrome bumper look was good. And I think in these as well, I mean, the 70s Spiders are more interesting than the 80s ones. There was just something about the 70s that they just... It's that period look, and as you say, from all sides, this red coupe looks great. The engine bay looks really clean as well. I think it's a really, really interesting car. Would definitely worth a look if I was in the market for a coupe.
Well, it was kind of designed at the sort of end of the wedge period, but it's still got those wedge looks about it. The windscreen is very sharply raked, and it kind of leans back in a stylish way. It looks almost like it's leaning on a bar, waiting to talk to somebody. I think it's such a great design and so rare.
Mechanic.
I love that.
I was waiting to talk to a mechanic about what needs fixing next. But it's got black and silver number plates. It's sort of wedges, Max says. It's got the chrome bumpers. It's a really interesting looking car, and you just don't see that many around. Engine-wise, it looks like a Spider engine in there to me. So it's that similar, is it a 1750 twin cam?
2000. So
2000. Oh, it's 2000. Of course it is. Yeah, it's a 2000 twin cam engine which inspired us. So it's not a scary prospect. I think the thing you've just got to check on this is that the electrics won't work, so don't worry about that. It's just the rust, isn't it? And it's the body condition.
And also the parts now. Interior parts are pretty rare for these. If you try and find a dashboard for a GTV, you're in trouble. But as long as it all holds together, and this has got the velour interior, it's going to be a great driving car.
Yeah, check the collars and cuffs and the rust. That's what you've got to check on these. And then the rest is probably fixable, all the mechanics.
Now, next up is another of your choices. You've been busy this week considering you've bought a car as well. Look at this. Talk me through this. This is a fern green Mercedes W114. It's a 280, is it?
Yeah, so Berlin Taxi, we talked about these lots on the show, rectangular headlights on the front. Now, we sort of sniffed after one of these at an auction, and it went for like 22,000. This one looks really
thinking,
clean.
Maybe we'll pay 3,000 for it.
Yeah,
Go up to maybe 3.5.
Well, you and I got the hots for it, didn't we? We
Definitely. We sat in the front, we sat in the back, we had a good poke around it. We loved that car, didn't we? And I actually thought that car would go for about 5, and for some reason it just went through the roof. It's 22,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, now these cars, I would say, in photos look a bit boring. They look a bit like a taxi. But when you get near one, there's something about them, isn't there? They're very, very period. And we sat in that 114 and just thought, actually, just fire it up. We can just go for a big, long drive in this. It's really, really nice. So this one's come up, and bear in mind that one at the auction, 2 people fought over it and it went for 22 grand. This one looks probably in as good as condition as that. It's a 280E, so it's the straight 6, isn't it? So it's a nice, and the 280s were just nice, slightly nicer appointed. I mean, don't get me wrong, that the seats in this sort of bounce up and down like a pram, but it's in a really nice colour. It just looks really, really clean, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do like these because, the W123, well, they're quite popular, but they do still look like a taxi because some are still being used as taxis, let's face it. But these have the whiff of a kind of Berlin spy drama. You could be driving around the Berlin Wall in the Cold War in this and look really cool. They're slightly older than the W123, so they have that kind of mystique. And I think this is definitely a classic car, where sometimes the W123 you could think maybe it's just an old Merc. It's not a classic, but this is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's only had 2 owners from new. As you say, it's a sage green with a green MB Tex interior and door cards and stuff. The dashboard looks really clean. It's an automatic. You can have some fun in this for just under £5 off 10 grand. You can have some fun in this car. It looks really nice. As I say, these cars, they don't look that amazing in the pictures because they look like a saloon car. And everybody goes, I don't want a saloon, I want a coupe. But go and see them in the flesh because there's something about them. They've got that 70s charm. Now, as you say, they're so different from the 123. They're a completely different generation of car. This one's got those coloured wheel hubcaps. I love colour matched ones.
But we always say about these W114s, basically you're driving a 4-door Pagoda because all the styling cues are the same as the Pagoda. So it's the period Pagoda, it's the saloon Pagoda. So you're getting a car for potentially 10 grand. If you're going for the Pagoda, you're paying still 100,000. So you're getting 10% of the price, but you're pretty much getting a Pagoda with 4 doors.
I wish I'd seen this one before I'd seen the Stag. It might have swung me to go into this because I know this can fit my garage. Well, yeah, I mean, I need another garage, don't I, to put it in. But there's something cool about this. The only thing I don't like about it, Max, is it's got a tow bar on the back, but you just get rid of that, get that taken off. It'd be good for you if you caravan in holidays, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh no, can I have a Morris Minor for that, just to complete the dream?
Well, those are some of the cars that we've seen. If you do see any cars that you think we should have a look at, do drop us a line and let us know. We're always interested for our See It, Want It feature. Here's how to do that.
You can find us at the Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and the Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
Well, that is it for this episode, I'm afraid.
Coming up in the next episode,
Matt is off bulk buying coolant, so next time we'll talk about ugly classics. But do some ugly cars age gracefully and get better looking with time?
MG's A's, B's and C's were great cars, but does anyone give an F about the MGF? Or is it a good modern alternative to a classic MG?
That's all in the next episode, plus we're off to celebrate 60 years of the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow at Brooklyn, so we'll talk about that.
And meeting lots of people in fur coats with cigars. So until next time, bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Tyre Kickers. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts.